What separates businesses that do well on Amazon from those that don't? After tens of thousands of hours of practice and after working with hundreds of brands, I have an answer for you. And it's not what you think. Welcome, my name is Irina Balurko. I'm a partner at Redox E-commerce, where we help brands launch and grow successful on Amazon. And today's topic, what I'm going to be talking about, is so fundamentally rooted in you being successful on Amazon, yet at the same time, probably the most removed from Amazon that I've ever talked. The reason for that is that after, again, instead of working with by now hundreds of brands and tens of thousands of hours of being in Amazon space, and talking to brands that are successful that not necessarily are clients, I've come to the conclusion that the reason that some brands do well on Amazon and others don't really are at the root of it inherently have really little to do with Amazon. It's really more to do with who they are, or who they become in the process. So let me kind of illustrate with an example from my own experience. So I play piano, so I learned it as a kid. I went to a music school, which in Soviet Union you kind of had very structured music education. So you actually finish your regular school and then you go to another school that is focused on music, and you have different lessons and classes and so on. So when school year started, my teacher and I would pick a repertoire. Usually she would pick, and I just kind of I didn't have a lot of say often, but anyway. So pick a repertoire, and then you work on it through a year, and then end of the year you have recital. Not very typical, just like athletes have competitions, right, to judge your performance, and somehow because it was very very good, but also very strict education. I think their expectations were always high for myself, for my teachers, for my parents. And I realized somehow as a kid, even though I didn't have a lot of probably self-awareness yet, that if I shifted my focus on performing well at recital to being better at practice, as I practice piano every day, every week, and so on, I actually ended up performing better. So not only when I shifted that focus to my daily, weekly practices and incremental improvements, I not only lessened that anxiety about playing on stage, but also actually ended up performing better, right? So my question to you with that example is, when it comes to Amazon, are you focusing on that recital, or are you focusing on being better at practice day after day? In other words, are you focusing on the big ultimate goal, let it be acquisition or a certain sales revenue goal, or are you focusing being better day after day, over and over, at this thing called running business on Amazon? So that is really what I found is really fundamentally the biggest divider between brands that do well and that don't end up doing well. So don't get me wrong, we all should have a North Star. We all should have big overarching goals. But in the end of when we go towards those goals, we also shape ourselves, right? We make decisions to some shape or form. We choose certain behaviors. We do certain things. We think certain things. So in the process of that, if you focus on creating behaviors in Amazon space that help you be better at running Amazon business, inevitably that will help you be better at reaching your ultimate goal. For example, let me use another kind of illustrate with a question. If you were an investor and wanted to buy Amazon business, would you buy your own business, right? And if not, why? And I think if you're really honest with yourselves, your answer probably not going to be, well, because it's small, or because the numbers are not there. Your answer is probably likely going to be in more fundamental business things. So for example, do you really have good representation on Amazon? Do you have good images, and do you have copy, and do you have reviews? Do you have those, what I mean by healthy fundamentals, that just happen to express themselves in Amazon? Do you always deliver on your promise of fulfillment, and so on? Do you stay in stock? So those are, they're not so glamorous yet things, but yet they are the ones that lead to awesome case studies, right? That I love to talk about, going from 0 to a million, or going to, have a case study go from 0 to 100K in less than a year, right? But behind all of that are those behaviors of being better at practice of running Amazon business. So why you should have that North Star goal, whatever that is, your recital, why you should focus on being just better at running Amazon, just improving at the practice of being on Amazon. So first of all, it fosters resilience. If today I focus on just being slightly better than yesterday, it helps overcome all those Amazon issues that it's so prone. Sometimes it's unpredictable. Sometimes it feels unfair, and it is unfair. Sometimes you feel you don't have a lot of control. So having that, okay, I just need to be better and smarter at whatever it is today than yesterday, helps you foster that resilience. Versus, have all these issues, which is going to move us further away from our goal, right? So the second one is that kind of cultivates healthy mental state. Because again, to the point of that, sometimes, if you're in Amazon space and you get Seller Central support responses, that just kind of it's just unthinkable, the level of robot-like responses, right? It's just can be frustrating. So creating that healthy mental state where it puts you more of what is in your control, right? Because what you can improve is usually what you control. Then it also helps you create feedback loops. So if I want to be better today at practice of playing piano, I could review my performance, right? Athletes, I learned this from one of my mentors, Scott Herman, that if you are interested in topic of high-level performance, you should definitely look him up. So feedback loops is an expression learned from him, where athletes, they watch their practice or their games in order to improve their game, right? So that's hence feedback loops. So if you say, okay, if you review how Q4 went for you last year, that is a feedback loop. If you review your last quarter, that is your feedback loop. And that goes for both the things that go well and that do not go well. Okay? So again, this is in the mindset of being better at running Amazon business. So the next one is, it really pushes you in the mode of excellence. Inevitably, if you focus on improvements, even if incremental improvements, those things compound. If you focus on improving your conversion rate by 0.25%, it will compound over and over, right? So if you think about, I just want to be better at this as a business, as a brand, it pushes you towards excellence. And then the next point is being better at practice. Daily practice is really helps you refine focus. Because sometimes if you think about, okay, we want to get from, to 10 million annual run rate, just to think about the roadmap, that can be quite overwhelming, right? Which is why sometimes it's also hard to do projections from a brand new business on Amazon, saying, well, what's investment is going to take and for us to get to break-even point, or to whatever desired goals are, because you don't have a lot of data to work with, right? So when you say, okay, I want to become better at selling, I want to be better at getting more reviews, I want to be better at advertising, I want to be better than, sometimes like your competition, though you shouldn't really run your business-based competition, but yes, you want to be more agile in competition, so on. It helps you refine focus, and because you are not thinking so far ahead, that becomes overwhelming. Your road sometimes gets paved a little bit as you go. It's just how it is with running a business, right? It's really, I wish like all the great business plans, they don't always pan out as we want them to be. That's just part of doing a business. There is definitely certain fundamentals, again, when it comes to Amazon strategy, that I talk a lot in other videos, but that's not what it is about here, right? So it's really about the better practice because that will help you be successful. And the last is really, it helps you autocorrect, auto-calibrate. Here's what I mean. So let's say if your goal is to get, I don't know, to let's say 50,000 a month, and if your sales are not quite going, if you're not on that track by a certain period of time, sometimes you start making impulsive decisions. Sometimes you start kind of internal panic, or your decisions start coming not from a place of working towards that, but also you either over calibrate, or sometimes you just kind of give up and sit back and think like, well, what's the point, right? So if you have your goal, well, it doesn't mean that even if you don't reach at the same time, you just still work towards that goal, right? You just, maybe your timeline moved, and that's okay too. So if you wanted to get to 50K a month this year, but it didn't happen, if shifts, and if you get to 50 month in 3 months, you still got to that goal, right? It's just your timeline moved. So that's kind of what I mean by, so it doesn't mean that if you are, you have 10 days left in a year, you really have to hit that goal. While I guess psychologically it would be awesome, but you could be making decisions that are not really helpful. There's not really helpful for you, fundamentally. So if you focus on just being better at practice, being somebody who knows Amazon and does well at Amazon and is proud of their business on Amazon, then you will kind of avoid this under-calibrate, giving up, or over-calibrate when you start throwing things and coupons and random things last minute. So that is really, and of course you say, well, I want to be better at Amazon. I'm not talking about, well, should you learn yourself? Should you work with somebody else like us? Those are kind of the steps that come after that, because in the end of it, whether you do Amazon yourself or work with an agency like ours, or you outsource it, so to say, it's still a question of you as a business owner needing and wanting and being intentional about being better at Amazon, right? So coming from that place of improving and improving and improving, rather than focusing on that ultimate recital and being overwhelmed by that goal and having anxiety about not getting there. So I hope this was helpful. It's really, again, cultivating the right mindset and resilience and feedback loops, and being true to your course, sometimes more than even destination, because ultimately that's what will get you to that destination. Right? If you have any issues with Amazon, if you have any questions, drop a comment, or you can find us at redrocksecommerce.com.